What's up, guys? I wanted to take just a moment to talk about a couple of different limiting beliefs that you may have, I've had, a lot of people have. You'll see them all over the place. And so there's well, three, maybe four of them that we're going to talk about today. And I just want to talk about these limiting beliefs briefly, what they are, how they kind of manifest, and how you can overcome some of them. So I hope that you'll find this beneficial, to say the least. So without further ado, intro. I don't know if I put an intro there. We'll see what happens. So the first one we're going to hit on is negativity, negative mindset. And this isn't even a limiting belief so much as just a limiting factor, right? So if you view everything through a very negative lens, you get what you project in life, right? So if you project negative thoughts and negative feelings and negative emotions and negative fears and negative whatever, that energy is going to come back to you. So if you're a negative person, and you're looking for the bad thing in life all the time, well, it's going to happen. All right, so I'm not saying you have to be an optimist, because if you listen to like Viktor Frankl's book, he talks about how the optimists are the ones who didn't survive. If you listen to Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about how the optimists didn't always survive. So maybe not so far to that spectrum that you just always think everything is roses, but understanding that being negative about everything is just not going to help you. The second one is imposter syndrome, right? This one's actually really common. I still struggle with this. I've struggled with this on several occasions. And imposter syndrome is if you've ever been in a spot where you've said, I can't do that, or who would listen to me, or who am I to talk about this, or I'm not an expert in that, or whatever, right? Prime example is the War Room Mastermind group that we have, which now has 122 members at this moment. Probably gonna have more than that by the time this video comes out, because it's growing fairly quickly. I thought about starting a mastermind group for 6 or 7 months, and I never got around to it. And I didn't get around to it because I kept thinking, man, I'm not prepared to lead a mastermind. Who am I to put a group of people together like this? Like, what's going to happen with this? Oh, there's no way that'll work. Oh, whatever. All these limiting beliefs. And it wasn't until my partner Stu approached me one day and said, hey, have you ever thought about starting a mastermind? That I was like, yes, absolutely. I'm in. Let's do it. And it was the need of that extra cushion, that extra push with someone who saw something in me and also wanted to do the same thing and thought that the two of us could take this down. And without that, I don't know if I would have been able to make this happen, right? I don't know how long I would have waited to take that leap. So imposter syndrome is a very real thing. It really does. It comes at you. It sneaks into the back of your head. This is the piece that says you're not meant to be a speaker. This is the piece that says, you shouldn't start a YouTube channel because nobody's going to watch it. Or who are you to talk about personal finance or whatever. And it's good because it keeps you a little humble and makes you second guess things, but it's only good to an extent, right? Because the reality is everybody's got their own brand, their own flavor. People will listen to you. You will succeed if you try these things. And so to get out of imposter syndrome, you got to surround yourself by people who will tell you when you're in your own head and give you that affirmative push to go and try it. You got to surround yourself with knowledge. So you need to do your own research, do your own due diligence to make sure that it's not a lack of knowledge or lack of know-how so much as imposter syndrome, right? Because if you don't know what you're doing, that's a totally different ballgame. So surrounding yourself with the right crowd, the right people, that's how you get past the imposter syndrome. That's why so many people in the war room are doing deals together, because they get together and they're like, well, I've got this fear or whatever, and the other 5 people in their small group are like poking them and poking all the holes in their plan, and they're like, you can do it, man, go do it. So that's imposter syndrome. The next one I want to talk about is income limiting beliefs. And this one's a little bit less tangible. Not that any of these are tangible, but think of your income as a thermostat. If you set a thermostat at 69 degrees, yeah, that's right, 69 degrees, and it goes up to 71, it's going to cool back down to 69. And if it drops to 67, it's going to heat back up to 69, right? Because that's what it's meant to do. In the same way, if your income belief is that you are going to be able to make $100,000 a year, then you will find that you will stay around that $100,000 a year bracket. This is why you need to set goals of, hey, I made $10,000 a month last year. Now I want to hit $20,000 a month. Now I want to hit $30,000 a month. Now I want to hit $50,000 a month. And this is why you need to surround yourself with people who are doing similar things. So surround yourself with people who make $200,000 a month. Because if you think of it this way, if you take a pot of boiling water or we'll say lukewarm, room temperature water, and you throw 10 ice cubes in it, the temperature's going to drop. If you throw 100 ice cubes in it, it's going to drop even more. Whereas if you took that same pot of room temperature water and you poured boiling water in it, it's going to rise in temperature. And the idea here is the same thing with your friend group. If your entire friend group makes $50,000 a year, you make 100, you're going to find that you're not going to really be able to break that barrier. The same as if your friend group is making $1 million a year and they're all trying to pull you up to their level, right? So you need to surround yourself with people who think the same way. You need to surround yourself with people who are going in the same direction. You need to train yourself to not think in terms of what you're able to make and what you're willing to, what outcomes you expect, and to really stretch what's possible. And I struggle with this one too, right? Because I do very well at this point, and I constantly find myself undercutting. Like, I could do better, and I'm not, because I'm limiting what I think is possible, right? And so there is a barrier between like being unrealistic and being somewhat realistic about, I'm not a believer that if you just wake up one day and you're like working at McDonald's, you're like, I'm going to make $50 million next year. Like, probably not. But there are ways to slowly warm up that thermostat, and every year you change it from 68 degrees to 69 degrees to 70 degrees to 71 degrees, and you just gradually climb. And the way you do that is through knowledge, it's through who you surround yourself with, it's through work ethic, it's through all of these things, but it's also through efficiency and just getting around the right people. Check my watch, not because I'm bored, but because I have a podcast to record in 11 minutes. I want to make sure I'm not running late. And yes, I'm going to leave that in this video. The last one I want to touch on real quick is victim mentality. Kind of goes hand in hand with the negativity, but the belief that something happened to you instead of because of you. So I recommend you read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink if you haven't. And it basically just talks about taking ownership of things. So if you're late to work, instead of being upset and blaming all the reasons that you're late to work, look at it and go, hey, I could leave 5 minutes early and that won't happen again, right? Or if you lose a big deal, yeah, you could think of all the reasons that it's someone else's fault, but then you're never going to improve. So you give yourself the power, right? Being a victim strips you of the power and responsibility. And sure, right now being a victim is kind of cool, right? I hate to say that, but like, everyone is a victim right now, and it is what it is. But if you don't take that power away from your mentality, you don't take away victimhood, right? You've got to take that out of the context. You've got to get away from things being someone else's fault, and you've got to get to where they're your fault so that you can fix the problem, right? If you don't think of how to fix the problem, how to improve yourself daily, then you're not going to be able to get past that barrier. So you got to lose the negative attitude, and you'll find it. You'll catch yourself saying or thinking something negative, and you have to stop. Sometimes I even physically say like, no negativity, no. Like, think positive thoughts, whatever you got to say to cut it off and like put a barrier on it. Imposter syndrome. Get out of your own head, get out of your own way, get around people who are going to tell you what you can achieve, not doubt everything you're capable of doing. I wrote them down to make sure. Income limiting belief. Surround yourself with higher earners and more, and people who are more aggressive and more goal oriented than yourself. And then the victim mentality. Don't be a victim. Don't be a bitch. Don't be, whatever. Input however you want to say it, but strive to be that go-getter. Take control of your life. Dominate your life. Go get them. Also, subscribe to the channel. Click that like button. Look, this is just a short video. There's so much more I could dig into with this, but I hope this helped.